Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 75 of our conversation in our series on why Black Lives Matter. Today, we are delving quite deeply into the topic of truly seeing ourselves. And it has come through as a result of a couple of conversations within the team, and also something that Jeff shared with us in terms of looking past the surface to seeing the love and respect. And so I think it's quite fitting that one of our team also, just in terms of feeling into the topic, looked into the space of how are we truly honest with ourselves, and how does that honesty with ourselves allow us to see ourselves. So with that, I'm going to open it up to the team. Of course, it's going to be a very general conversation in going into whichever healing spaces that we need to go into as we progress with the conversation. So yeah, just in terms of really being honest with ourselves and with yourself, what has stood out to you over the last week or two?
I think for me, it's been worthiness. Don't know why, but when I just feel into like being more of myself, I think that worthiness is just like what I've been working through. Um, and then I also feeling into BLM, I think that also is a component of it too. Like maybe worthiness of like like seeing yourself as equal or seeing yourself as divine. But I don't know if anybody else feels that, but that's just what came up for me when I was feeling into.
I just wanted to check in with you because I think it broke up just a little bit. Just that last sentence that you shared with us, that you were saying worthiness in terms of seeing yourself as evil or divine.
Oh,
Was that what you were saying?
no, it
Oh.
was
I was like, because I heard evil.
no, it was what was it? I don't think I said evil. I think it was equal.
Okay.
I was like, whoa, did I say that? I don't think I did.
Oh, that's why I'm asking, because like it was like the word just jumped out at me. I was like, is that what he said?
Oh no, maybe that's God pointing to something though. I don't know.
No, like, well, sometimes it's just somebody mishearing you. That's why I had to just check in with you.
No, equal, not evil.
Okay, well, that's cool. Yeah. And I think, you know what, like, while we're on the topic, I feel like it's probably something to possibly consider, like, is there a part of us that feels like there's a perpetuation of evil, or even just a representation of evil that we may not have actually wanted to look at before, but now that the word has kind of jumped out at us, does anybody resonate or feel anything behind that word? And if not, it's okay. Like, you don't have to go searching for something that's not there. But if it was a niggle, a little bit of a nudge, let's look into it.
I think for me, what it just feels like is like releasing ego, or like relating to the ego. Like I even identifying with it.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that kind of, when you say that, it kind of feels like just releasing, identifying with so strongly with the bad feelings. So something that come up for me is the sense that there's more energy placed behind relating with the bad feeling, and not enough energy placed behind relating with the good feeling and allowing the good feeling to just be there. And it's kind of something that I was feeling through in the last couple of days. Just, like that energy of the bad feeling almost feels like it lingers longer than the good feeling. And I'm not sure if anybody else can relate to that.
I mean, I definitely feel that. Like focusing or giving power over to the bad feeling. Even like, because I've been doing like sessions this week too, and like with my clients, it's kind of was like a pattern of like just talking and like being in the bad feeling instead of just like deciding to feel better, you know. And then I recognized that within myself, and it was just like a part of me still like feeling like I had to relate to that, or I had to like be in that energy instead of just like choosing to not be there and not give any power to that, which is kind of like we were talking about with ego. It's like relating to that vibration.
Mm. Yeah, and then that's kind of what brought up the sense of it, was that relating inside of ego and what ego would have you do as opposed to what love would have you do. And
Yes.
so, and that's why I kind of almost found this dichotomy of like allowing the bad feeling to linger longer, and the good feeling is almost a more fleeting feeling. And I was like, well, what is that about? Like, because like once it comes into your awareness, you can't not look at it. And so yeah, and then that's kind of where I got to the point of like, it almost feels like the good feeling and the bad feeling are in conflict with each other. And at the core of it, they have the same purpose. They're trying to lead me deeper into love. They might do it in different ways, but they kind of have at the core of it a very aligned purpose. Some of it just doesn't look as great as some of the other. But then I was like, well, where is this thing? And so, it was like, and that's really how I like really just delved into this topic of like truly looking, like truly seeing myself. Like, look there, look at that place. What is that place telling you? Where is it leading you? Because it always leads somewhere. We just have to be aware and open to kind of following the breadcrumbs or the trail, or in our instance, the feeling. So yeah, I just want to check in with you guys. Have you going into this topic with yourself? What have you discovered?
Um, oh, it's a hard one for me. It's always been something I haven't been willing to look into about myself, but I know that it makes me up as who I am, and not like I'm numbing or anything, but I'm afraid sometimes to look at who I am. I don't know. So I guess forgiving myself, that's probably something I need to look at. And compassion for myself as well.
Yeah, and how about giving yourself permission to actually just look? You don't have to do, like, there's no requirement to do anything with it. But it might be a good place to give yourself permission to look. Because like one of the things that I've discovered in this process was that giving myself permission to look gives me the awareness that something's happened. But it also gives me the awareness that that happened. It's almost that energy of it was, and I can heal it without beating myself up, that was a choice at that time, or that was my behavior at that time, which allows me to relax and to be more at ease.
Yeah, I choose to give myself permission to delve into that area and to feel safe as well.
Yeah, that feels good. That feels good, because like one of the things that you just mentioned was also just feel safe. And I feel like the energy of being at ease also fuels the energy of feeling safe. Because one of the things that not being at ease does is it almost messes with the feeling, and it inadvertently sometimes messes with the feeling of feeling safe and feeling secure, because we're potentially beating ourselves up. So we kind of turn that energy into an abusive energy, whereas feeling at ease doesn't feel like an abusive energy. Because permission allows you to relax. Permission allows you to take the step. And the example I would use is if your parents said, go ahead, you can. How much better and safer did you feel in doing something? And so in that space, you can give yourself that quite easily. You might not always like what you see, but at least you're now looking. How does that feel? Does that resonate with anybody here?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like, I remember us having like this exercise of going into like, why did you choose separation from your twin flame? And like going into that. And I really relate to you like bringing up like, you know, this abusive energy, because I remember like being hard on myself, and that like just never helped me to heal it. And, you know, I had to really accept like, okay, like that's what I chose, and I can make a new choice, and I am making a new choice. I'm actually not choosing that anymore. So why would I continue like beating myself up for it whenever I'm trying my hardest to heal it and move through it and be closer to God. So yeah, I really relate to that, and to what Kat said about just being really compassionate with ourselves. And I remember Shaleia having us read this book called Power versus Force, and every single like time you heal something, there's always this level of acceptance that you come to before like healing it and moving into love. So yeah.
How does everybody else feel? Was that a heavy question? Was it a too personal question?
Yeah, I think sometimes it can be. And it's just helping us release more of that, being hard on ourselves and having compassion. But I realize like being open and honest and vulnerable with where you are is really important, even if it might look bad. I think like yesterday I was sharing with Drake how when I went in to heal something, I saw myself with like devil horns, right? And but I had to like love myself, right? So, like I envisioned it and I like took them off my head, right? And I loved myself. And that's like really shocking, right? It's like, oh my gosh, she like saw herself like that or whatever. But hiding from it wouldn't have helped me, and I felt inspired to just share that, because like healing is messy sometimes. Healing doesn't look good. Clearly, I didn't want to see myself run around with little horns. So yeah, just accept that, to just move through it.
I love that you brought that up, because part of our conversation was me mishearing Drake when he was sharing about worthiness and seeing ourselves as equal and divine, and I heard evil. so,
The same thing.
No, right? So I like that you brought that up, because I think sometimes we do tend to be and in fact, I think it's often, not sometimes, I think we tend to be our own harshest critic. And so that critic might give you those devil horns when actually it might just have been a tantrum energy as opposed to an evil energy. But I feel like that feeling of what's good and bad, good versus bad, puts us very much in the space of still judging ourselves. And I feel like that is sometimes the place that makes it difficult to have compassion for ourselves. So yeah, like that, that's just something that kind of simmering for me as an awareness, like that judgment still tends to resist the energy of compassion. But yeah, talking about that, let's just like concentrate back to our topic. And so, like, I just Drake shared his insight a little bit on truly on what's come up for him in just going, like, thinking into this topic, and Kat as well. And Anastasia, like when like you've shared the part where you've healed and saw yourself as evil, but like when you think about this topic of truly seeing yourself, what does it bring up for you?
Yeah, what does it bring up for me? Truly seeing ourselves. Yeah, it brings up letting go of victim mentality and relating to fear and like staying in it. I guess it's similar to what Drake said. Drake said letting go of ego. I agree with that too, because like even learning about like issues that are going on in the world, you can't like fix the issue if you continue to stay in this pattern of victim mentality. So that's really what comes up for me. And to see myself truly is to see that, you know, God created me perfectly and I'm divine, I'm powerful, I'm not a victim. I can heal myself and, you know, yeah, whatever like needs healed in our realities. And I even went as far as to thinking like, even with this whole like pandemic thing, I was like, you know, like if I truly create my reality, right, and I am a divine being, just because that's happening in the world, I could heal that for the world. Like I really was thinking about that when this whole topic came up. It's like I'm really that powerful. I really create my reality, and I can heal even that. And you know, it's funny because I even ran into people that had it and I had to get tested, and I was like, oh my God. And I was negative, and I was like, okay, so this is real. Like I really create my reality. Not even me, you know, spending time with people that were infected could infect me because they don't create in my reality. And I'm not choosing that. So that's all it is. Like God's honoring my choice. So yeah, I'd say it's really like believing that we are powerful divine beings.
Yeah, and I like that you brought that up, because I think one of the things that truly seeing yourself does allow you to feel is your actual power. It actually allows you to feel your actual power when you realize what a powerful healer of yourself you are. Like you can actually then truly understand your power. Like for me, every time I heal something, I'm just like, it's kind of an invitation to return to health all the time. And every component of healing is a return to health. And I'm doing that. You know, it's not that somebody on the outside is doing that. Somebody on the outside might be guiding me through the steps of the mirror exercise, but I'm doing it. And then to kind of realize the amount of power you have in doing that. It's quite a shift. And it's not even that it was the exercise of power anywhere on the outside of me. Like everything that I healed was happening on the inside of me. It just so happened that my reality also shifted because I do powerfully create. And I powerfully co-create with God in my reality. And as you said, certain things I just do not choose, and so I don't experience it. And when I do experience it, there's a vibration that I know is out of alignment with my core choice. And so I know what to look into. But looking there and then doing the work is quite a powerful space to be in. And I don't know if you guys have ever just like thought of it in that way, that the amount of power you wield when you heal with love.
Yeah, it honestly really never ceases to amaze me. You know, I feel like I'm very like almost naive to that power sometimes, you know? So yeah, I totally relate to that. And I can always expand my awareness on that for sure. Yeah.
And Deji, how do you feel about what's come up for you in terms of going into this topic of truly seeing yourself?
What came up for me was peeling back layers of things that I physically didn't see, but were internally inside of me. But and also another thing similar to what Anastasia said about the pandemic as well, and letting go of a lot of things. That's what came up for me.
And in that, sorry, there's like something flying around my office at the moment. I'm like, what is going on here? Because it keeps on buzzing in my ear. So, in that space of letting go, how do you feel having just gone in, delved in there, like just looked, like being okay to just look?
Wait, say that again?
How do you feel have been being just okay to just look? Like, what does that give you?
Clarity.
And I think that is the thing that is at the core of what the topic is about today, is how comfortably we are able to go into clarity more. And in being comfortable into going to clarity more, we are more comfortable to then really see ourselves as well. Just checking in with everybody. What else is coming up for you now as you sit here?
So when the topic of like clarity came up, it reminded me of like my session that I had yesterday, because I was like, me and Anastasia were talking about like a car or whatever, and I was like, oh, I want like a new car, like that's gonna help me, and that's what makes me feel better. But as I fell into it, it kind of was like God was like, well, why don't you just get like a used car? Like you can still have like a used car, um, and it's really nice, but you're not like taking from yourself, because like a new car would be taking from myself. But anyways, to the point, I realized that I had like an arrogance in this energy, like I was being arrogant towards God. And like I looked at it and I was like, okay, I'm being arrogant, but like this doesn't make me bad. And then when I just accepted that like I was choosing arrogance and I released it, then I like gained that clarity, and it was much easier for me to like accept what God was saying to me like than before. But I think what I'm trying to say is just when I released the arrogance and I released like what like ego wanted or what ego was trying to tell me, I was able to see like God and myself. And then when I saw God, I was like, oh yeah, God, like you're right. This is actually what I want. This is actually like what's right. So I don't know. But that's just what's coming up for me when we are on the topic of like clarity. So I don't know if that resonates with anybody else. But.
Yeah, it does resonate with me. I think posted a post recently that said something along the lines of like what God wants for you is greater than what you think you want for yourself. It's like the same lesson. I found that really helpful because, and you know, it helps me, you know, same healing as Drake, releasing the arrogance, because I really don't fucking know anything. You know what I mean? Like, I don't.
It was funny. I kind of need to disagree with you that you do know stuff. Like the whole point of it is, again, I just said that, releasing the arrogance, but also honoring what you have, honoring who you are. Like you are not knowledgeless. Like God didn't create you knowledgeless. God didn't create you as a vacuum. And so it's okay to accept that you know stuff. You may not know it all. You may not even know how all of it fits together completely all the time. Like I find myself in that space. But I also find that because I start to see the relationship between things, and I start to see the pattern between things. And it's okay to say, well, actually, I have that skill. It's not arrogant. It's not an ego thing. And that's what I'm saying, like, it's okay to still honor yourself in that space and release arrogance at the same time.
Amen. Because I think claiming that too is kind of like there is a part of that that's humble, you know, because it's actually arrogant to like think that, you know, you're not divine and you don't have these skills, right? So yeah, what you said made a lot of sense. It brought me more clarity. So thank you. I wonder if our crowd is talking to us. I'm going to our audience rather. So I'm going to look and see if there's anything.
Yeah, so we only really have one comment from Fatima saying, hey guys. And yeah, there hasn't really been any interaction with any of the conversation. So yeah, one of the things that like I was just trying to feel into that energy of clarity and what it does for me. And I think it's just, again, it's that energy of kind of being at ease. You know, just like being relaxed, but like the relaxation in knowingness and beingness versus the relaxation of laziness and energylessness. So like, yeah, I just like when you start to feel into that, like I feel like it kind of just it kind of reduces the noise. There's a lot, it almost has the ability for noise reduction. Like it's one of the, like it's like almost a natural noise reduction thing. Because I feel like a lot of the time I will work through thought processes one after the other, and something will come in. And often when I'm able to kind of feel at ease, I also feel that my mind quiets more. And in that mind becoming more still, that's where the clarity actually happens. Have you guys ever experienced that kind of thing?
I think we all have probably experienced that. I don't have like any specific example in my life, but you know, I feel like it's like an everyday process of recognizing like when it's the voice of ego, and you know, if you hear it, to like do the opposite and also follow love's voice and God's voice instead. That's how I like relate to it, because ego is like the loudest in the room, and love is, you know, very quiet and peaceful, and love doesn't demand anything of you. So it's kind of what I get from what you were saying.
But you've touched on something very interesting, because like, is love really always quiet? Like, is love the calm voice all the time? It's like, you know, like I just like I feel I think into it and of what I've kind of learned over the years. And I sometimes feel like love can also be loud sometimes. And not in a bad way. Like, you know, and it's that connotation that loud is bad. And it's not necessarily the case. And so like I'm asking a question hypothetically. And so if somebody has a piece here that would be useful, but like, is love always quiet?
Well, I agree with you, because if you think of fireworks, right? Like they're very loud, but they're like beautiful, and it's a gift from God. And so that's kind of the first thing that came up for me, is like, yeah, definitely love could be loud. I think it's like about the energy behind that loudness. Um yeah. I don't know if anyone else has more to say about it.
I mean, yeah, I think that love is loud sometimes. I mean, love shows you who you are, right? And if God's trying to like catch your attention, he's going to be loud, you know. Like if you're looking for clarity in something, he's gonna pop it right in your face, like a firework, right? That's a perfect example. So yeah, like I said, love shows you who you are, right? It's like you're always constantly revealing yourself. So when you follow love, you are essentially like just choosing to have yourself revealed. And then you're seeing yourself as who you are. But if you are choosing ego or to follow ego, then you're gonna have like all these misconceptions and like false beliefs about who you are, right? And so in order to heal, right, in the topic of, Black Lives Matter, I think it's just also about choosing to follow where love is calling you, even if it's not in the particular place that you would look, right? Or that maybe it's a place that you don't want to go into, or a place that feels uncomfortable. But it's just a reminder that God is always calling you there for a reason. And yeah, you may find some scary things like, devil horns and, I don't know, people yelling at you, whatever it is. But at the end, if you're always choosing love, then love is always going to be revealed to you. Nothing else. And so, yeah, like love is always going to be revealed to you, and yourself will always be revealed to you. I don't know. That's just what came up for me. When you're healing, like that's what you're always choosing, and that's how you will make a change in your inner reality. Is by choosing to just follow that voice of love, right? If you choose to follow ego, you might go down a windy path, and I'm gonna blame you and I'm gonna be angry at you, and that just doesn't get you anywhere. And maybe some people feel that that's what brings them clarity, is like by being angry or by blaming somebody else. But in truth and in reality, like, you're only gonna get that from love. You're only gonna get that from God. So that's my piece. That's what I got from that.
And the rest of you?
I think I needed to hear that. Just that piece. Get out of my little cloud. I just, my so-called ego puts me in not fitting in, that kind of energy, and it's not true if you're following love. So I was called to Black Lives Matter. Yeah, it was something my twin flame actually called me to as well. So he sent me this funny meme ages ago about Black Lives Matter. It was Black Guys Matter. And I didn't know anything about it. So and that brought me to Black Lives Matter. So yeah, quite a funny story, but here I am.
I think you and Drake have kind of just brought us center back to the core of our conversation in terms of truly seeing ourselves in the context of Black Lives Matter and of why Black Lives Matter. And I think our copy also was designed in such a way that we just walk back into the space of seeing ourselves as divine, and within the energy of union within ourselves. And one of the things I think that close to the end of last year, I think we agreed that we wanted to really go into healing the core of racial separation. And I feel like our conversation today has been very clear about the fact that in all our diversity right now, as we sit here, we all had a piece of where this healing took us. And it was kind of not even in the context of our race. It was in the context of our humanity and our divinity. And I feel like it brings us very much back to the core of the fact that there is no real separation. And we're kind of just releasing the illusion of that separation as we heal through those places. And so saying that, I'm going to ask you guys how, and so if that resonates with you, and how it resonates with you.
Yeah, I think that is very important that you brought that up, because us being divine really has nothing to do with what race we are, because God made us all, so we're all divine. That's pretty much what comes up for me. These moments remind me of Jeopardy, when no one can answer the question, and it's just like do 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 do. Yeah, how's the rest of you
Laugh,
feeling?
because something that Fatima said to me a couple of weeks ago, it's like, sometimes you ask a question and I listen to the question, I'm like, I would have cried if he'd asked me that. I'm like, why is it that difficult? Like, are these complicated questions? So I like that you said that, because sometimes I do wonder, do these questions just go too deep? Or are these questions just things that catch you guys off guard?
Oh, I love that she told you that. That's so sweet. She said she wants to cry. Oh, I'm feeling her feelings. Yeah.
I think for me, like when you ask those questions, it's like I need a moment because I'm like feeling into them and I'm like, whoa, there's a lot here. So like that's what I was doing. But my answer is like, even like being in BLM, like just healing through everything. Like I'm healing through it too, right? Even if I can't like directly relate to a situation or to what somebody's going through, it's like I still feel like I'm healing through it. I still feel like I'm alongside, like doing it with everybody, like yeah, like I don't know, I just feel like a oneness and connected. Like I don't feel separate, like I feel the emotions. I feel everything that's associated with it. And, you know, bringing my peace and my awareness, like it just feels like God's telling me like to bring my healing there, or like God's speaking through me in this space, you know, going, okay, well, your brother needs your help, right? And he's saying, well, my brothers, you know, he's not saying, oh, well, this person. He's saying your brother needs your help, or your sister needs your help, right? And that's how I see it, right? I feel connected in that space, and so I don't know. That's like very emotional though, saying that. Like I got a little, whew. But I think it's just God reminding me like that's just the feeling of union, is feeling connected to everybody, feeling one with everybody, and I think that that's beautiful, and this is what we're bringing to the world, is this type of healing. And you know, people aren't used to that. People are used to seeing, oh, well, I'm this and she's that, and we're divided here and we're divided there. But if everybody could just, you know, tap into that, then they would like feel this too. And then, so that's why I feel called, because I'm like, okay, well, I'm healing my piece so I can bring this to the world. You know, I'm healing so I can see this reflected in my reality, because that's like the gift that I want to give, right? And what like Jeff and Shaleia talk about. And when I feel into it, it's like the gift of union, right? That's what you're giving. You're giving like little presents. Here's union here. Here's union here, right? And the whole world comes into union with each other. Not in that way, and not like everyone's your twin flame, but you know, just like everybody's one. And like, so it's like a little, like in this group, you're just tasting like a little slice of like heaven. God's like, here you go, like here's your slice. Now you want to bake a whole pie and give it to somebody, right? And that's like something that I've healed through, because before in this group, like, you know, I looked at BLM and I was like, yeah, like I feel for them, you know, like I want to do everything that I can. And then now I'm just like, well, I'm there with them, like I'm in that feeling with them, like I don't feel separate from them. And before this group, like I guess I did feel separate in a way, but now I don't. Now it's just like, no, that's my brother, that's my sister, I'm with them, they're with me, like I don't see any difference. So I don't know, that's my piece.
I loved how you said it was like giving out little presents. That's like a good analogy, because that's really how, you know, enlightenment works and union works. You keep sharing it with your brothers and sisters.
I also like that you surface the energy of connectedness, because I feel like that starts to feel like evidence of our healing. You know, so we've delved into so many topics, and yes, those topics could have been exceptionally controversial, but they've also allowed us to understand how much we actually do have in common with each other, as opposed to what we don't have in common with each other. And I feel that, and that's really what you were speaking to in that you and Anastasia were speaking to in that space of the gift of union, the gift of unionism, the gift of truly seeing ourselves as connected with each other and connected with life. And I think the core of it is that we are only really having one relationship with life. And so it shows up in so many components. And one of the things that kind of came up for me today was You know, that difference between having a very literal mind versus a figurative mind. So that part of that you know, we say, can you see that part of yourself? And you're like, that part. But like in a figurative sense, it's not necessarily a separate part. It's an expression of me showing up in a certain way, asking for a certain thing. And so even within me, there is no separation. It's just all components of me, parts of me showing up differently, asking for love in different ways and in different spaces. But the core of it is always asking for love. And the answer to it is always, I am able to give myself that love. It's like the answer doesn't delude me. It's not some elusive thing that I have to kind of go in search of, which makes it so much easier. And I think that is the core of what we're sharing, the ease of our healing within the teaching of union, the teachings of Jeff and Shaleia, the community that we're in. Like we get it on that level. There's no time where it has to be explained over and over and over and over and over again. We kind of get it. And so in getting it, we are able to share it so much more easily and so much more freely, because we are at ease with it. And we are at ease in it. And I think that's like the thing that really stood out for me, is that sense of, it's not this far off thing that I have to go searching for. And it's not this disconnected thing that I am not able to connect and have to struggle to connect. Like the more I let go of the illusion of that separation, the more I realize how much connection there actually is. And it's not that it was never there, it was just that I wasn't allowing myself to see the evidence as clearly. Okay, so with a couple of minutes left to go, I just want to check in with you guys if you have any concluding thoughts.
Okay, one thing. So when we were, I guess when you were talking about this, it just reminded me of like arrogance again. Because like if you're arrogant and you don't want to like see your oneness, then you're not going to see it, right? But when you let go of arrogance, then you will be able to feel and see your oneness with everybody, right? So maybe it's just like releasing that, or go, I don't know, I feel like that's like a whole different like topic, because I feel like a lot of people are very like arrogant when it comes to BLM. So then I guess, but and they're like, I don't want to see it like this or like that. So maybe that's just something to talk about, because like if arrogance is coming up again, it's like denying oneness with yourself, with God. So I don't know, maybe that's another topic, but that's just what came up really fast for me.
Cool. I think it's definitely worth an exploration. And it may not turn into a topic, it might just be a bit of healing. But again, let's have a look and see what comes up as we feel into that space. But for today, I'm going to say thank you to everybody for the conversation and to everybody that has followed us over this last while. We appreciate your support here. We'd also like to invite you to like and subscribe to our Church of Union YouTube channel, where you will find all our previous conversations as well as this one, and then any other live conversations that have happened in the Unionism Spiritual Discussion Group on Facebook. And with that, we would like to also wish you a good rest of your day. See you guys soon.
And Happy New Year
and Happy New Year.